Hello, Valor and Lime ladies and gentlemen. It is Jenny, and today is DIY Day, not Hannibal Lecter Day or Jenny has some contagious disease day. We are doing an awesome DIY today, but it's going to require a mask and some gloves. And here's why. It has in it, and I'm reading because I get these two confused. It has sodium lauryl sulfoacetate in it, which can irritate the eyes, the lungs, if you breathe it in, and it gets airborne really easily. And some of you are like, Jenny, not sodium lauryl sulfoacetate. Yes, it has that in it. But don't worry, because I think you might be confusing it with sodium lauryl sulfate, which is a really harsh chemical that they put in a lot of shampoos that can irritate your skin. But sodium lauryl sulfoacetate is its much gentler cousin that we'll be using in this recipe. So this will not irritate your skin. Still, referring to my little notes here, it does really good with removing oils and bacteria. So it's super safe, much more gentle than the other one, but because it goes airborne so fast, we're gonna wear the mask. And because I just got my nails did, we're gonna wear gloves because this one has food coloring in it. So I'm sure you're wondering, what are we doing today? Well, this household absolutely loves the Lush brand bubble bars. But anybody who has children know that they use an excessive amount of supplies. You say, use a little dab of shampoo, and next thing you know, half the shampoo's bottle is gone. That's exactly what happens to our bubble bars. We're like, just break off a little bit, and next thing you know, your beautiful, giant, delicious smelling bubble bar is all in the bathtub. So we are making them at home to save on the cost. While we still love the Lush products, the budget says that I cannot buy them at the rate my children use them. So we're gonna make our own today, and we will walk you through the steps on how to do that. So today's recipe allows you to take a little discretion and kind of choose your own adventure and pick a few of the ingredients. So I wanted to share the ingredients that I chose and why I picked them. So one of them is fragrance. You don't have to have a fragrance in it, but I love smells. So I picked Peace and Calming 2. There's a Peace and Calming 1 by Young Living. It is just a very nice, truly calm, tranquil smell. And since my kids are going to be using this and they lose their mind half the time, we need whatever we can to take them down a level. Plus bedtime and bath time are usually synonymous with each other. So whatever we can do to kind of relax them, better. It also has you put in an oil. This is just to kind of moisturize the skin. And they suggest coconut oils, and what does my sheet? Coconut oils and olive oil, sweet almond, cocoa butter. I'm using castor, not because I love castor, actually quite the opposite. It is the least favorite oil I had. It came in a variety pack, but this one is the least versatile one, and I need to use it. But what it is really good for is hair, skin, and nails. So it's really good for the parts of the body that's gonna be in the bathtub. And lastly, if you choose to, if you're doing adult ones, you might not need to, but since these are kids, we are putting some colors in it. So generally, I would have picked an organic food coloring, and they do exist. However, I like variety, and I could not find a huge variety of colors in an organic food coloring kit. So I chose Good Cooking Gourmet liquid gel food coloring. So for this recipe, it did recommend using a gel food coloring because it has less liquid in it, and it will make the paste a little bit better. If you use a liquid one, you can use it, but it will make your mixture a little bit more wet, and that isn't really what we're looking for in this one. The more wet your mixture is, the longer it will take to dry. So while my kids' favorite colors are pink and green, I'm making it, so I'm using my favorite colors. So I picked teal green and violet. Let's get started. First off, we're going to want to mix in all of our dry ingredients. So I have posted the link of the recipe that I used. It's from beingerin.com, and I love her recipe because I love the finished product and how it's worded, and the pictures are fantastic. So that's the recipe that I'm using. So in the bowl right now, we have got 2 cups of plain old Arm & Hammer baking soda. We have 2 cups of the sodium lauryl sulfoacetate, and this I had to get on Amazon. I couldn't find it anywhere else, but I did get a really cool kit that had a couple ingredients in it, and I saved a lot of money. It also has in there 2/3 cup of cream of tartar, and then 2/3 cup of Argo cornstarch. When you start mixing this and when you put it together, be very gentle. The stuff it goes everywhere. It's okay if it's got some clumps, like my baking soda was a little on the older side, so it's a little clumpy. But wear something old when you do this. I already look like I have been baking for the last 3 days. I'm covered with tons of different powders because I am not neat and tidy when I do this kind of stuff, so you will get messy. And if you love your tables or your countertops, put something down to cover it. This table here is about as old as I am, and we don't give a crap about what happens to this one, so it's not a big deal. Now it's time to mix some of the wet ingredients together. So here I have got halfway between 2/3 and a cup of the glycerin, vegetable glycerin. The recipe called for 2/3 up to 1 cup. I went a little heavy on my dry ingredients by accident because some fell out and I didn't put it back in. So I went a little heavier, but not all the way to the cup because I like it really dry because it doesn't take so long to put it back together. And now I need 2 tablespoons of my oil. They did mention that if you chose to use an unfractionated oil, like coconut oil, and it comes in a solid, to put it in the microwave for a couple minutes. No more than 30 seconds, pull it out and stir it, and then if it's not ready to go, do it back in 10-second intervals and take it back out and stir it. You'll also notice that I did not even bother to clean out the cup that I used to measure everything in because I'm getting ready to dump them all back together, so I didn't see the point. Now we're ready to add the liquids to the powders, so we just go ahead and dump everything right on in, and then we're going to start mixing first with the spoon until we just can't get the job done anymore, and then we are going to go all in with our hands, with our gloves, so I don't get my pretty new nail all grody. This is about as mixed as I could get it with the silicone, oh bummer, my silicone spatula. So now I'm going in with the hands. I'm getting all the extra goodies off of what is now my broken spatula. Good excuse to get a new one. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to mush it with my hands. So my table is getting messier by the moment, but I just added my essential oils into my mushed up blend. It kind of looks like feta cheese, but it's a very dry mixture. And so I added my Peace and Calming, and I ran out about halfway through. So since Peace and Calming is a blend, I just went and grabbed some tangerine and some orange and some patchouli, which are already in that blend, and added it back in. And so you're like, why did you run out? Well, this has about 60 to 70 drops of essential oil in it. And I know some of you are like, oh, you crazy thing. Oils don't grow on trees. Well, you're right, they don't grow on trees. They grow off of trees or in trees. But when you think about it, this recipe right here is going to make probably 15 bubble bars. And in our house, we use 1/4 of a bubble bar per bath time. So really, you're only using 1 or 2 drops per bath time. So when you think of it in a big picture, 60 to 70 drops for as big as this recipe isn't that big of a deal. Now time to the part that will make you the most frustrated. The twirling of the bubble bar. So first, you want to make sure you lay out some parchment paper or baking paper or something that's non-stick. And I probably have 18 inches, and I could have stood to have 24 to make it a little bit easier. I poured the first color all on the mat, and then I laid another piece of parchment paper over the top of it. I do not have a baking rolling pin, but I do have a bottle of wine, so I use my bottle of wine as the rolling pin. So I laid it out as flat as I possibly could. The flatter it is, the easier it's going to be to when it comes rolling time. And now we're going to sprinkle the second color on the top of it and do the same thing, flattening it all out back onto the top. So it's going to look like Barney here in a second. So once you got your first layer flat, go ahead and make the second. All right, so we've added the second color. It's looking really pretty. We made it all flat. The article did mention that if you flip the paper over and get rid of all the goobers, kind of make it a better rectangle, it's going to be easier when you go to roll it. So that's what we did there. That's why there's kind of the extra purple on top of the green. Now it's time to roll it. Let's see how we do. All right, so now we have got a log of bubble bars. So now we're going to cut it into chunks. And in our house, we like to be able to stick the bubble bar underneath the faucet. So we're going to add a couple of popsicle sticks to them too. And after cutting them into about 1-inch chunks, I inserted popsicle sticks into 12 of them so we can just hold them underneath the bath water. And then these ones in the center don't have sticks, and you can just break them off and throw them in the bathtub. So this bubble bar recipe made me 18 1-inch chunks. But my log was pretty long. You can also make them have a bigger girth, for lack of a better term. So now you just need to wait for them to dry. You can put them in a cool place and let them dry on their own. This is one of the reasons why you want to make sure you have as dry of a mixture as possible, but one that would still stick together. I like to put mine in the oven at 200 degrees for a little while and let it help get some of the moisture out of it, but you don't have to. You can totally just set it aside and let it get into a more solid form, and then you're good to go. Break it off, put it in your bath, and enjoy.